Polly Winters sat alone in her creaking old house on Sparrow Lane. Outside, the wind tore at the shutters, making hollow rattles that echoed through the empty halls. The generator had failed hours ago, leaving only the pale glow of moonlight through cracked windows and shadows that moved like living things. The silence was heavy, thick enough to feel like a presence watching her from the corners of the room. Then came a knock, 3 sharp taps on the door. She froze. For a moment, she thought it was her imagination, but then it came again, louder this time, slow and deliberate. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Every instinct told her to ignore it, to pretend she hadn't heard, but guilt gnawed at her. She remembered her sister's voice telling her, "Be more open, Polly. You can't hide from the world forever." With trembling hands, she walked toward the door and opened it. Standing outside was an old woman, draped in a moth-eaten shawl that fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were dark and hollow, her skin thin and cracked like aged parchment. Veins pulsed beneath it, black and swollen, alive with some unseen sickness. Her jaw hung slack as she spoke in a voice like dry leaves, whispering, "I've come to start tonight." Before Polly could speak, the woman thrust a small black box into her hands. It was unnervingly cold, its metal edges sharp enough to draw blood. Inside, she saw an hourglass half full of black sand. The old woman's milky eyes flickered toward it. "Something you need, something you hate, something you love," she rasped. "Put them inside before the sand runs out, or it will take everything." Then, without another word, the woman turned and vanished into the fog. Polly shut the door quickly, locking it, even though the bolt trembled uselessly against the wood. She stared down at the strange box, her fingers tracing its engraved edges. It felt alive, vibrating faintly in her palms. Her throat tightened as the house seemed to grow colder. She decided to follow the instructions, if only to quiet her fear. The first thing came easily, something she needed. She thought of water. Her throat was dry, and her lips cracked from hours without a drink. She filled a glass from the sink and placed it inside the box. The moment it touched the metal base, the hourglass shuddered violently. The sand began to pour faster, and a low groan echoed through the house. She turned sharply toward the sound and froze. Her dog, Baxter, was trembling in the corner, whining. His eyes rolled back, and he collapsed onto the floor, spasming violently. "Baxter!" she screamed, rushing to him, but when she touched his fur, it was already slick with blood. His ribs twisted, bones snapping under his own skin. Then came a horrible crack, and he went still. The room filled with the thick, metallic scent of blood. Polly choked on her breath and stumbled backward. When she looked up, the bathroom mirror reflected the word "need," carved deep into the glass in what looked like raw flesh. Her tears fell fast, but the whisper came again, carried on the wind from nowhere and everywhere at once. Need, hate, love. She understood. She had only finished the first step. Desperate to end whatever this was, she tore through drawers and shelves, searching for the next offering. Something she hated. Lies. That was the first word that came to her mind. Lies had ruined her, her father's betrayal, her husband's affair, her friend's deceit. But lies were abstract. The old woman had wanted something tangible. Her eyes fell on her cigarettes. She hated them. Their smell, their sting, the way they chained her even when she wanted to stop. She crushed the pack in her hands and dropped the mangled remains into the box. The hourglass paused, and for a fleeting second, she thought it was over. Then, the static-filled radio on the table burst to life. A whispering voice hissed, "You can't escape. Choose the last." The lights flickered violently, plunging the room into strobe flashes of light and darkness. Beneath her feet, the wooden floor began to pulse, as though it were breathing. A split second later, hands burst from the cracks. Thin, pale hands with blackened fingernails clawing at her legs. Polly screamed, kicking wildly, feeling nails tear into her calves. Blood sprayed across the floorboards. She crawled, slipping on her own blood, pulling herself toward the box, as the phantom hands scraped and vanished back into the wood. Now only one task remained, something she loved. The thought nearly broke her. What did she have left to love? Her niece Tara came to mind, her smile, her laugh, the way she'd once said Polly was her favorite person in the world. The thought made her chest ache. Then she heard laughter, Tara's laughter outside the window. Polly turned and her heart froze. There in the moonlight stood Tara, or something wearing her skin. The girl's face was pale, her eyes black voids, and her mouth stretched open far too wide, revealing endless rows of teeth. "Aunt Polly," it gurgled in a distorted voice. Her phone rang suddenly, making her flinch. "You forgot me." When she answered, her mother's voice came through, soft but wrong, layered with whispers. "I've always loved you, Polly. But you chose fear." The voice dissolved into static. Her shaking hands reached for the music box on the mantel, the one Tara had given her years ago. It still played a broken melody when wound. Heart pounding, she wound it once more and placed it inside the black box. The moment it clicked shut, the hourglass stopped completely. For a breath, the world stood still. Then came the pain. The walls around her groaned, the boards splitting open with the sound of cracking bone. Jagged splinters shot out, impaling her arms and legs. Blood gushed in rhythmic bursts. She collapsed, clutching at the wound, her vision blurring. And in the shadows stood the old woman again, her shawl now a patchwork of human skin stitched together with hair. Beneath it, she had no face, only a void that pulsed with faint light. "You did well," the woman whispered. "You protected what you love. You named what you hate. You understood your need." Polly tried to crawl away, but her body was weak. "Please," she rasped, "let me go." The old woman smiled without a mouth. "Survival is sacrifice," she murmured. From her sleeve, she pulled a curved blade and pressed it against Polly's foot. The pain was blinding as she cut deep enough to scrape bone. Blood sprayed the walls, painting them crimson. Each drop hissed as it hit the floor, and the black box began to glow. The woman watched silently until the last grain of sand fell. Then, as suddenly as it had started, everything stopped. The glow faded. The woman disappeared. Morning light seeped through the shattered windows. Polly lay motionless on the floor, her body broken and slick with dried blood. She blinked slowly, barely alive. The black box rested beside her, untouched and clean. The music box lay beside it, silent now. Her phone buzzed weakly beside her, a new message on the cracked screen. "It never ends." She tried to whisper, but her voice came out as a rasp. "Why?" From the doorway came the soft creak of footsteps. Tara stood there, smiling. But it wasn't really her. Her eyes were empty, her skin stretched too tight. "You finished the game," she said, her voice a hollow echo. The black box clicked open again. Inside were the 3 items she'd placed, the glass of water, the cigarette ashes, and the music box. But now there was something new. A single strand of Polly's hair, soaked in blood. Polly's eyes widened as Tara stepped closer. Shadows crawled up her legs, tendrils of darkness slithering from the box and wrapping around Polly's body. She tried to scream, but the sound drowned in the darkness. The old woman's voice whispered from somewhere deep inside the walls. "You are vicious, Polly. You always were." The box snapped shut. The house fell silent. Outside, the wind carried away the last echo of Polly's scream, but inside, faintly, almost lovingly, the black box began to hum again, waiting for the next victim to open it.